Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. We're so excited to have each and every one of you here today. We're having an exciting show for you covering the Sean Diddy Combs trial for week 5. I'm sure through the media you've seen that it has been quite an eventful week. And today, as I promised to you, I would bring you some heavy hitters. Yes, indeed, some heavy hitters. Let's wait no further to bring them on. We have Blanca Cobb and Queen Shiba. Come on in. Blanca, tell us all about you.
I am a body language expert with a master's degree in psychology. So, what I do is I tell you what people aren't saying by looking at the subtleties in their body language. And then I'll pair it with some psychology because a lot of times what people don't want to say, they show anyway, but there's also some psychological reasons as to why that happens.
All right. Queen Sheba, tell us all about you.
All right. Thank you for having me today. And I'm Queen Shiba. I'm a YouTube content creator. Similar to Blanca, I do have a master's degree in psychology, but I focus on behavioral modification specific to organizational psychology. So hello, everybody.
Oh, I'm so excited. You probably don't get to see me this excited. This week was a tough week. I was almost knocked out in court at times. It was so boring when they were doing some of the testimony. But at any rate, what did you guys think about Sean Diddy Combs this week as far as his? Tell us about him.
Blanca, you want to go first?
Blanca, you go.
Sure. Yeah, I can. Look, one thing that I do when I'm in the May courtroom is I try to get the lay of the land. I look to see what's standing out when it comes to body language. And I'm sitting in the back of the courtroom. And so I can pretty much see the back of Diddy's head. And his family is sitting in front of us also. And so when there's any big movements, I'm talking about head turning, pulling back, moving forward, leaning to the side, right? Turning around, looking at people in the gallery. This is when I can see what's happening. But the biggest thing with body language is trying to see what's causing the change in somebody's baseline behavior. So with Diddy, he's the biggest head nodder I have ever seen, even though the judge has already called him out on it. And I talked about this before judge even said anything to him. It was weeks ago. It was with Cassie, actually, when Cassie was on direct. He nods his head, and a lot of times he nods his head in agreement or he shakes his head in disagreement, and those are critical moments. And the reason they're critical because he is responding to something that he is hearing. So whether it's the direct testimony from what he's hearing, which is one possibility. Another possibility is it could make him think of something, and that's why we see him writing down on these sticky notes to pass to his attorney. So there are a lot of different reasons here, but those head nods and head shakes definitely mean something to Diddy.
All right. Excellent. Queen Sheba?
Okay. So for me, I have to get a feel for everything, every component that's going on in the courtroom. I'm watching Diddy. I'm listening to the witness, the cadence of the testimony, the body language, the pauses, the facial expression. And then I'm also looking at the jurors, right? Who's connecting, who's not connecting, who's disconnected, who's sleepy, who's bored. I'm listening to the judge to try to see if he's in alignment with the defense, if he's in alignment with the prosecution. I'm watching the family come in, right? Looking at facial expressions. Are they talking? Are they not talking? Who's seated next to who? Who is Mama Combs asking to get up to move? Because there's been a couple of times Mama Combs was like, I need you to get over here. You move over here to where the guy that's the god brother actually got up in the middle of Jane Doe's testimony, walked to the back of the court because Mama comes in. I said, and my note was there has to be a hierarchy. When it comes to the Combs enterprise and the family, there are things that have to be in order, and we stick to that. You sit here, I sit there. But also, I'm watching Diddy, and for me, it's important to capture him coming out the back of the room because I can tell most of the time what mood he's in based on what occurred the previous day, right? And I can kind of tell if he felt like the previous day was a win. If he didn't get any sleep, there's times he was frumpy, he was wrinkled. There's other times he comes out with bright colors, yellows and blues. The days that I feel that he's not so light on his feet. He chooses more of a darker tone of browns and coffee colors. So that's what I was able to take from this week.
Okay, thank you for that input. Here's the big question I have for you guys. Sitting in the courtroom, I've been in there every day since the beginning of the trial. Diddy does this all the time. He takes his glasses off, he puts them back on, he looks like that. He takes his, what is going on there, you think?
I'll
I
jump
do
in.
that.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Blanca.
Uh, there are a lot of different reasons why this could happen. First, let me say this. When it comes to body language, it depends on context. It depends on the number of body language changes that you're seeing to help you lead to a conclusion about what might be going on. One thing about body language is that it can be interpreted in different ways based on context, based on clusters, based on culture. We have to take all of that into account to get a really accurate read. So body language reading is a science as well as an art. So that's why you're going to hear me say, it could be this, it could be this, it could be that. This isn't math, because 1 + 2 = 3, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what country you speak. What language you speak, it doesn't matter. So body language isn't that way. So with the glasses, one, his eyes could be tired. Two, he could be bored. Think about it. We are sitting in these bleachers on hardwood for hours on end. I think his seat is probably a little more comfortable, but still he's not robotic. Other times it could be that he wants to just have something to do. So there could be some boredom there. It could be some spectacle reason, like he actually needs to see something. And there could be some other possibilities. Queen Shiba, what are your thoughts?
I have to agree with you 100%. I was thinking the same thing. I think there's times that he does need the glasses in order to see the screen, like because he needs to see. And I do that. I take them on and off. But there's times that I get bored, I get shifty, and I'm moving because I'm needing something to do in that courtroom. I think you're spot on.
Okay, so let's talk about Jane a little bit, right? We'll go back to Diddy, but I want to ask us about Jane. Jane gave her testimony and she broke down under the prosecution, under direct, all of these times when she was abused, right? I noticed that Diddy's shoulders almost slumped, like his hands were heavy during that moment, and almost he was leaning forward, even toward the attorney on the right. What does that mean?
For me, the slumping was that's when I knew she was telling the truth about
Whoa.
how she's disappointed in herself, that she would allow herself to go to the levels that she went in the free cost, whether it was consensual or not. And I think that's a part of her life and the part of the disconnect that she wanted to connect with him. A lot of times when she would testify, I made a note of psychological safety exchange between the two. She would do what she did in order for him to love her, to connect with her, to be emotionally connected as if they were a married couple. And in exchange for what she did, he provided her psychological safety by way of housing. For some reason, housing was very important to her. I don't know if it's because of childhood, moving around. I don't know if it's because of her previous relationship with her child's father. But there's something there about housing that's important to her, and also love. And I think when he slumped, it's because it's the first time that he was forced to hear how she really felt. And now he's sober, right? There's no drugs, there's no alcohol. And he slumped because it's like a slap in the face, like, damn, this is real. I can't escape this. I can't get out. I can't walk away from this. I have to, it's hitting him head on. So he has to receive what she's saying. And a lot of times under oath, she would testify that when she would bring up how she felt, he would change the subject, get off the phone, or just remind her, listen, baby girl, I'm single. I can do what I want.
Awesome. Okay. Blanca.
I think Queen Shiba is spot on. And when we are feeling bad, when we're feeling down, a lot of times, even with sadness, the shoulders slump over. When we're not feeling confident, our shoulders will go from being back to being rounded and curved down because we're lacking confidence in that moment. It could be exactly what Queen Shiba is saying. You know, he has to confront and he's got nowhere to go, but he has to listen to her perspective, to her point of view, whether he agrees with it or whether he doesn't agree with it. He is in that courtroom and he's got to listen to it. And he can be having some type of feelings about that. And it could be conflictual feelings also.
Since we're on the subject of Jane, I noticed when she came off the stand after her final testimony, she went and hugged the prosecutor, Comey, and then she went and hugged the lady who had just cross-examined her, Tenny Garagos. Why would she do that? Help us understand. Go ahead, Blanca.
There could be a couple of reasons for this. And one, this is the end. It is over. Maybe she feels some kind of support that she got from the government. Maybe that was her way of saying, you know, it is over. I need an embrace to just feel better about this. Maybe she feels, now remember, she did get a little snippy and feisty on that stand with Tenny Garagos during her cross-examination. Perhaps one possibility is she's saying, you know what? I know this was tense for me. Maybe it was tense for you. This is all nonverbal. This is something she could be thinking. And that hug is just a way for her. I'm not talking about Tenny Garagos here, not the defense attorney, but I'm talking about for Jane Doe, for Jane, that it was her way of putting closure to this, of making this rest. Maybe it was her way of, no, the hug meant no hard feelings. It's over. It could be some type of nonverbal message that way, if it's sincere and it comes from a good place.
All right, Queen Sheba.
Okay, I have a completely different take, right? Because I didn't see her hug the prosecution. Okay, so doesn't mean it didn't happen, but I didn't see it. So what I'm thinking is when she hugged the prosecution, she wasn't as demonstrative as she was when she did and embraced the defense, right? Right, wrong, or indifference, because when she came down the aisle, it was a big display. And she stopped, she turned. It was very prominent movements to me. And she hugged the defense. I found it inappropriate, right? Based on the gravity of the case, when have you seen anybody embrace or hug the defense and or the prosecution? I also found it to be a show of dominance in my perspective, right? When we're looking at women that are victims that are saying, my space was violated. I felt that I had to do this. I felt that I had to do that. I didn't have a choice. So, me looking at it as another woman is why would you take up space in another woman's area without permission? And also, Tinny was not looking at her. So, they didn't have eye connection for Tinny to be able to say, yes, it's okay, or to be able to embrace her back. The defense's head was turned to the left when Jane leaned in to embrace her. So I felt like it was I'm going to take up space a little bit in this courtroom.
Okay, so on that same point, because I'm pretty nosy. When Tenny, who had just cross-examined her, right? When she reached to hug her, Tenny moved in and was squirmish like that. What was going on, you think?
I I thought she was looking at Diddy. They were comparing notes, right? I
Hmm.
think it was completely unexpected, and I think probably what you were seeing is Tinny's reaction to being physically embraced, that she didn't see that coming. But Blanca, what are your thoughts?
One, I do believe that in this day and age now, particularly with somebody we don't know, we have to ask permission if they want to be hugged. Even though someone could have a genuine warm feeling or good intention about it, somebody else may not want to be touched, particularly during this tense, one could even classify it as a little hostile cross-examination. So come up with someone unexpecting it could take someone off balance, right? And I think asking or letting them know, putting your arms out, that's a nonverbal side, like a sign, I'm going to come in for a hug, giving the other person the opportunity to respond nonverbally. Either they're going to reciprocate by putting their arms out, they might pull away, maybe they make a face or a frown, or they shake their head no, they give you some type of negative reaction. I think that would be completely appropriate. And going back to what you said, Queen Sheba, yeah, it could be it could be a power statement at the end. I wasn't in the courtroom, so I didn't see it. This is where I need for both of you to kind of fill in the blanks. Like, what was her body language? What was her facial expressions? How close was she to Tenny? You already said, you filled in the blanks a little bit, Queen Shiba, by saying that you thought your perception was that she was busy perhaps talking to Diddy at the moment, so she didn't even see Jane Doe coming in her direction.
Right.
It was also the first time I saw her walk with her head straight up, back erect. And that, to me, that was a transition in the switch. I don't know if it was code switching, because a predominant portion of her testimony, her head was down, her voice was extremely soft. And I kind of felt like she came out of character. She walked down, she was sure, she was confident. That was the first time she looked around the room. She made eye contact with a few people that were there on her side. And she also made eye contact with another attorney that was on the far, far left side of the courtroom. So she felt confident. She felt sure. No need to hang my head low anymore. And not only that, her jacket was open where I could see her lace bra. So you
Oh,
tell me.
all right. Good observation. So just like Cassie, Jane spoke about she did not want to be sleeping with these strange men, but she said in order to build up her psyche, she would dress Diddy and the ex-worker, in matching shorts. What in the world is going on?
Go ahead, Queen Shiva. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, let's call a thing a thing. They were booty shorts, because you don't
Oh
buy
boy.
basketball shorts. You don't buy basketball shorts from a sex store. So you already know what kind of shorts they were. And I feel like it was her way to demean Diddy and to also demean the male escorts. And I think there's a level of truth to that, right? Because I can't, whatever is going on and the power dynamics between the two, I can't this is my testimony, right? I can't object in this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demean you in a way that I perceive that you're demeaning me. So just in case you want to show those tapes, I'm going to make sure that they see you as a man in booty shorts.
Oh
In
my.
an unflattering way.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, Blanca.
It's a way I agree with Shiva here. It's a way, it's a power move. It's a control move. It's like, hey, it's not all on me. I'm going to be dishing some of this out to you. So just get ready. And this is one way I'm going to do it. And I would imagine that there were probably parameters under which she felt comfortable that she could exert some control or power in her interactions with Diddy.
All right. So, ladies, guess what threw me for a loop?
What?
When Jane said that she was with the ex-worker and she made love to him. How does a woman make love to an ex-worker? And oh my God. Is
That
that
is
too
wrapped
much
in
for
all kinds of
television?
craziness. I mean, look,
Okay,
it
Blanca, go.
isn't for anyone to judge. Like I'm not here to judge anyone, but it sends confusing signals, particularly when in court we're presented with two sides of a story. One where she is fiercely saying, I don't want to do this. I don't have any part of this. I felt like I was coerced. I felt like I had absolutely no control and I had to do this. And then when the defense showed, wait a second, I heard what you said on direct, but let me show you these texts. And I want for you to read these texts word for word. That really is saying something different than what you said during your direct examination. It's saying here that you enjoyed it, that you wanted. Sometimes you started it, right?
Yeah.
It sends a confusing message to the world. And people find love in a lot of different ways. And sometimes also the definition of love differs based on person to person. So maybe for one person, it's warmth and caring. Another person, love could be shown in care or warmth, like, being more gentle with someone's body, if you will. I mean, so there's different ways of interpreting what love could mean to somebody. And perhaps because she did say under testimony that she felt close to one of these male escorts, that might have changed that dynamic for her while she was having intimate relations with that person.
Wow, that was deep. Okay.
I I think so. Also, there's a intricate piece of her testimony where they were reading off the text messages where she actually referred to two of the sex workers as her boyfriends.
Ooh.
Now, when cross-examined about that particular statement, she said, "I was just joking." And I have to agree with Blanca. There's a lot of highs and lows, roller coaster ride. Like there's just so much where we're just swinging left to right. It's ping pong in that courtroom, and I think that's what the jury is going to have to figure out. Is this a victim? Did she really enjoy this? Are there times where when you use words like "I made love" to a sex worker, oh, what are the legalities there? Is this by force? Is this, is this under duress? Is this where you just surrendered and you just felt like you had no choice? And why choose those words afterwards, right? To describe the act. So I think that's a huge question mark.
Okay, so guys, I want to be vulnerable a little bit right now, and I'm going to ask you a question, something I've observed my entire life. When I was young, and even until now, I've seen women get beat to a pulp by men and they go back. Why would you do that? He knocked down four doors basically, split one in half. Why did Jane keep coming back? Go ahead, Blanca.
The reasons can be varied, but one is not every single moment of every single hour of every single day was rotten and horrible and despicable. Like, even in toxic relationships, there can be moments of levity, of fun, of happiness, of what the person would define as love. So when they feel that or they see that from their partner, then they look for it. They're like, when is another moment where it can go back to that loving feeling, that nicety, being touched with love and tenderness and caring, or being talked to with respect. So they see glimpses of that in their partner and they hold on to it. They wanted it to come back. So it's no different than uh, children or a pet. A pet could be mistreated by their owner, right? By their
Hmm.
human mom or dad, but that pet will go back to their human mom or dad in the hopes of, I'm going to try this again, and I'm going to come and show you affection, and maybe it'll be different this time. Children do the same thing with their parents. Okay, their parents lost their temper, but you know what? Last week, mom and I, we went to watch a movie. Just yesterday, dad and I went to go play baseball. So they hold on to the goodness and they try to find ways to recapture it again. That's one possibility. And part of that is just trauma bonding.
Wow. Okay. Queen, you want to go?
Yeah, so I like to include the facts. And the facts is this happened in June 18th, 2024. He was already under federal investigation at this point when the physical exchange occurred between she and Diddy. He was under federal investigation. This was 7 months after Cassie received her lawsuit settlement. And also, she was working with her attorney and the feds. Up until that point, that evening, she testified there had been no physical violence between she and Sean Combs. Now, according to her testimony, she initiated the physical violence because she was upset with him for going on a trip to Colorado with Young Miami. And as he bent down to tie his shoe, she testified that with all her might, she slammed his head into a marble countertop. She threw candles, she threw glass, she attempted to leave, and that's when he kicked down the four doors, right? Because I think it's important that we give all details. um, and then I think he put her in a chokehold as she was trying to escape and go out the front door from behind. And she managed to escape that, and she was able to hide for approximately 2 hours. And then so still he hadn't physically did like a lot of harm yet, not justifying it yet. When she comes back 2 hours later, they asked her, had he hit you yet? She said no. What happened when you walked in the house? She said, I punched him in the face. Then what happened? I ran to the patio. Then he became physical. Now, at this point, you would have thought, number one, Diddy would have left. You got a 2 hour head start. They asked her, what was he doing? after you slammed his head into the counter, what was he saying? He was saying, "You're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy." My question is, how come Diddy didn't leave? You're under federal investigation. If you feel like this woman is trying to entice you to physically attack her, because what you feel like she's trying to get a settlement, and what the defense led with is, were you trying to entice him to hit you, right? After you read that Cassie received $20 million. I don't know. She said no. So I think there's a level of responsibility on both sides. But why would she come back? That's the $1 million question. Because at this point, I feel like the defense did a really good job of saying, is she trapped? Was she trapped? Because at this point, he's under a microscopic um, lens. The feds are on him, Homeland Security. She's working with the feds. She has an attorney. And she continued to go back to him and to also continue to do the freak offs. So why would she do that? I think Blanca has a really good point. Trauma bonding, the toxicity of it all. And I don't know. Chat, what do you think? For those of you that are tuned in, what are your thoughts? Why would a woman go back?
Wow, that's deep. Thank you so much. Something I noticed about Jane is the way she wore her hair. Diddy would be to her right, and I
Yes.
noticed that she wore her hair covering this side of her face, and throughout the day she just kept rolling her hair, and also she had her body positioned like away from where Diddy would sit. Does that have meaning here? Go ahead, Queen Sheba.
Absolutely. I think it has two different meanings. Number one, I need to shield myself from you in a way so that I'm able to focus on being able to be as comfortable as possible on the witness stand. Because number one, I'm under oath. Number two, I have immunity and I have to tell the truth. Number two is he also liked her hair. And he would tell her how to wear her hair sometimes in the text messages with the free cost. So I'm gonna give you just a little bit, but at the same time, I'm going to protect myself from you. That's why I don't know. What do you think, Blanca?
I think I'm so glad you picked up on that observation, Mel. I wrote this down in my notes. Where she had her hair, I agree with Queen Sheba. It could be she was protecting herself from him, but also it is a way to exert control in the courtroom by not letting him see her in the eye if she has her hair flowing here and he can't really get a good look. Turning her body away a little bit, and I did look at the angle of her screen because she had a monitor. So it was angled a little bit. So it worked that it was angled in a direction more towards the jury and not to Diddy. But I do think it was a way for her to exert control in that courtroom. You don't get to see me unless I decide you get to see me. And then turning her shoulder a little bit psychologically and in body language terms, she's giving him a little bit of the cold shoulder.
Oh wow,
It's a power play, in my opinion.
Do you feel
powerful.
like the government prepped her? Do you feel like when they do prep that it's this amount of detail in the preparation on the side of the government, or do you think she kind of gets to decide how she's going to go in there?
That's an excellent question. And I don't know the answer to that. What I do believe a lot of times when each of us are in a difficult situation, our body responds to protect. That's why we have this fight, flight, or freeze system and our limbic system that activates when we feel threatened, whether it's a physical threat or a psychological threat. And I think sometimes it just takes over. It's like instinct. So I don't know if she was coached. I can't speak to that, but part of me really feels like this was just her way of gaining control of the situation. She
All
didn't want
right.
to see them because those first couple of days during her direct, her head was down and she was talking
Yeah.
very low and soft. It wasn't until towards the cross that her head came up and she would actually look at the defense attorney.
Okay, so let me tell you what I saw because I'm looking at everything, right? I'm nosy.
Yeah.
Diddy was giving her the eyes like he was giving Cassie when Cassie was on the stand, and then she came back with her hair like that. So, what's going on in Diddy's mind that he's trying to look the victim in the eyes? Go ahead,
Who wants
Blanca.
to connect?
Intimidation.
Oh,
5 syllables. I think that's one possible reason. And then if he hasn't seen her a while, sometimes it's out of curiosity. How does this person look? Do I still feel the same way about this person? You're trying to size somebody up when you're looking at them. So it could be curiosity. It could be intimidation. It could be, thoughts that he's had. Like, did it have to end this way? Could it have been different? Who knows what he's thinking? So I'm just throwing out some possibilities of what could be happening.
Okay, good. Okay, Queen Shiba, tell us what you think.
That's good stuff, Blanca. That's really good stuff. You said intimidation and I said connect. Either way,
Mm-hmm.
somewhat along the same lines, right? I'm needing you to connect. I need to know, like Diddy, Derek Ferguson described Diddy as a very brilliant, powerful man in business. So he needs to, I think that was a way for if she just looks at me, I know I still got it. If she looks at me, I can kind of send a signal. So he's still going to exert some of that brilliance that we've come to know him for. That's the reason he's a billionaire. And I feel like he was needing to connect with her. Maybe I can weigh you down. Eventually, you have to look, come on, number one. Number two, he's never seen her in this light. He's never seen her with this much sophistication,
Yeah.
coverage. Probably never even seen her before as a woman, capable, confidence. Maybe he marveled at her communication style. He's very highly intelligent to me. She's sharp. I mean, sometimes I kept thinking, why would you waste your life to do freak offs? You're sharp, you're intelligent, you are independent, you're confident. Uh, your vocabulary is expansive, right? When you think about sex workers, a lot of times there's a notion about the type of women that participate. To me, she's the antithesis of that. She could have gone either way in life, right? And I think he was marveling at her. He needed to connect with her. Um, there could have been a lot of reasons.
Okay. So I noticed that Jane would be very soft. She'd be crying sometime when she told her story. Sometimes she'd cry at a high pitch. But when they brought up my young Miami's name, she turned to a completely different person from my reference point. What's going on there, Queen Sheba?
Jealousy, envy, coveted, coveting, a little bit of complexity, rage, anger, yearning.
Hmm.
Young Miami, Diddy was more family oriented with Young Miami and her child. Diddy took family trips with Young Miami and her child. To me, Young Miami is symbolic of all the things that she wanted psychologically from Diddy as it related to emotional security, family unit. Some of the words she would use in her text message regarding the house that he purchased for her son, big backyard, our house, family. And to see Young Miami get that, Young Miami. So let me be honest. Jane Doe has an air about herself, right? In my opinion, an air about herself. And there may have been a level of superiority there. And I think it's just a reminder to her that she, like she said, got played, tricked, manipulated. That's what comes to mind for me.
Okay. All
Yeah, I'd
right,
like to
Blanca.
add to that. It could be a level of judgment also. What does she have that I don't have? I did A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is all that I did. Now, what did she really do? This could be a perspective that Jane could have been taking also, just sizing up the other woman and saying, you know what, you're not all that. He may not see it, but I see it. I mean, that feeds into what Queen Sheba was saying, superiority, feeling, hey, you got this all wrong, Diddy.
Speaking of Diddy, do you think he was trying to, and I'll use the word corn instead of the actual word. So, do you think he was
Huh.
trying to bring corn to real life, and that's why he was having these strange men come and sleep with his partners?
Wait, repeat your question.
Do you think he was trying to bring corn, I'll say the word porn, to real
Yeah,
life by bringing these strange men to sleep with these women in his life?
definitely a possibility, but I just think he has his own level of kink.
Mm.
And he was just trying to bring that kink as how he defined it, which was pleasurable to him. He was trying to set it all up. When I was listening to Cassie's direct examination, the one word that came to my mind is like, he was a director. He's the producer. He's the playwright. All these people are like the puppets and he's the marionette and he's putting them in their place. And you do this now, and then you do that, and then you do this. he had it scripted in his mind, and he was conveying that script to other people for what ultimately he wanted. That's my take on it. Queen Shiba may have a different take.
No, brilliant. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Crescendo. So that's what he was saying. Crescendo. Quit on me. You can do this, like, like something a coach would say to his star player, in order to get you to finish strong in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I just think he did bring it to real life. It's documented. It's on tape. It's on video. The question is, where was it going? How was it utilized? So did he try to bring it to real life? No, he did bring it to real life so that he can watch it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, he orchestrated it. He was like the composer.
Yeah, like Beethoven.
The conductor, I mean, like the musical conductor.
Do you think this had something to do with how he was raised or his upbringing?
I can't speak to that because I don't know about how he was raised or his upbringing.
Okay. But in typical situations, do people act on what they learned behavior like in the younger years, or how does that work?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You think about it, our parents are our first teachers. Our parents teach us like how to hold a spoon, right? How to feed ourselves, how to get dressed, how to brush our teeth, how to do our hair, right? How to treat other people, what we say to ourselves. Parents model how we should feel about ourselves by how they talk to us. If our parents are uplifting and saying, hey, you're the best and you can do this and just keep trying, versus you suck, you should give up and you should try something else. You hear the difference there? So parents are huge. They're a huge influence. Now, having said that, there are 1,000,001 people out there who had the most crummiest childhood ever, who don't even speak to their parents anymore. And they go on and they've worked through all the madness of their childhood, and they are healthy, functioning adults and having great lives. So it isn't the end of the world or it dictates your past. It influences where you're going to go, but it's not the end game. You can jump off that track and join and get on another track.
Okay.
I agree. I don't know for a fact that anything has happened because he hasn't touched on it. It's something that I did say in one of my previous commentaries. Listen, you need to make it make sense. And now is not the time to be shy. If there was childhood trauma, you need to say something. Not saying that it's going. However, we need a 360. We need to know who the man is behind the mask. That's the first thing. So, and not only that, I want to hear from a clinical forensic expert to say if he was sexually traumatized, what's the impact of that when you don't receive psychological intervention? Here's what this looks like when young boys or young teens are exposed to sex at an early age or forced into sex. This can occur, or that can occur. And maybe he's a prime example of that. I will say that I do know in most cases when kids have been sexually abused, if they do not receive intensive therapy, oftentimes they do become predators.
Wow, that's something to think about. So we would just want to pause here, and we have 1,000 people in the room. Tell
Oh,
everyone
awesome.
about yourself again. But before we do that, guys, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Please go and support our wonderful professionals channel. This is beautiful to have these ladies on. They're really at the top of their game. And guess what? I get to sit beside them in the courtroom and share notes. And it's a terrific feeling. So Blanca, go ahead and tell us about you and where they can find you and where they can hype you up.
Yeah, I'm Blanca Cobb. I'm a body language expert, world-renowned body language expert, since I'm hyping myself up, with a master's degree in psychology. So I talk about all the subtleties and nuances of nonverbal communication that impact how you communicate and understand with other people. And the flip side of that is I help you understand yourself better. The biggest thing that I see with people is they're always focusing on the other person, what they're saying, what they're doing, how they're moving, when they forget that they're part of the equation. So I help you see both sides. Why? Look, we all want to get along and have wonderful, loving relationships in life, whether it's a friendship, a work relationship, or even a romantic relationship. And it all starts with understanding. And the connection, I've always said, starts non-verbally. Oh, you can find me at Blanca Cobb. BlancaCobb.com, on social channels, Blanca Cobb, YouTube, Blanca Cobb, body language expert.
Okay, that's so amazing. You are so amazing. Okay, Queen Shiba, talk to us. Tell the people. Okay, I think
Oh,
she may
she
have
froze.
she may have frozen. Okay, so while she's coming back, I'm going to ask
Mhm.
you a different question. We're going to switch gears a little bit for Cassie.
Yeah.
It was my observation that when they played the video of her being beaten in the Intercontinental Hotel,
Yeah.
she didn't cry. She told the story very pleasantly. But when she spoke about her relationship with Diddy in the good days, she started to cry. What do you think about that?
Some of it could be just that yearning. One thing that I do believe with Cassie and with the other victims who are testifying, those who said they loved Diddy, I truly believe there is a part of them that really loved him, even with his bad behavior and everything. So talking about abuse that perhaps you've been able to process and that you can talk about, it doesn't sting as much when you talk about it more. Having said that, though, here's the caveat. There could be sometimes, like I'm going to make this up. You could talk about it, let's say it 40 times, and you're okay. There are no tears. Then that 41st time, it's like a wave of emotion. Because I do believe that our body holds in that trauma. As much as we try to release it and talk it through and move on with life, there's still a part of us that has to learn to cope with it, and it will show itself sometimes in the most inopportune times. But having these talking about the relationship, it could be regret, like why did it have to turn out this way? What could I have done differently? Why did he do that? Could he have done? It's almost like if there's a lot of what ifs in someone's mind as they reflect on it. And if you really love that other person who has hurt you, it hurts. I mean, it really hurts. And it's just a way to feel the emotion and also letting it go.
Thank you for that explanation. There were times when Diddy would beat Cassie to a pulp, punch her in the head, punch her in the stomach. When the police came, she wouldn't tell. Why do women protect men that beat the crap out of them?
One reason I believe is that they're scared. I mean, it's like you talk when the police are gone, just wait and see what happens. You think it's bad now, you talk and see what happens. I mean, there are implicit threats. Sometimes they can be direct threats, or they can be implicit, indirect threats where you just know how this person is. And if you still want to be with that person who has hurt you, you get a sense of their tales of when they're in a good mood, when they're bad mood, how they see the situation. Look, some abusers feel like this. If you didn't, I wouldn't. There's no acceptance
Hmm.
of responsibility on their part. If you didn't walk in front of the TV, I wouldn't have thrown that bottle at you. If you didn't get sassy, I wouldn't have slapped you. Not, I need to do a better job controlling my emotions and keeping my hands to myself. I mean, no, it's always the other person's fault.
Wow, Dawn Rashad really blew me away. She said that Diddy had beat Cassie, punched her in the head so badly that she had to wear sunglasses, and they all
Mhm.
wore sunglasses in solidarity with her. But
Yeah.
this is the part that really bothered me. When they got into the car, Cassie told Diddy, "Why do you have to beat me in front of others?" Almost like she was okay with getting beat at home. Just don't do it in front of other people. Why do victims take that approach?
One possibility is a humiliation. It's it's not right. Okay, I'm going to say this now. It is not right no matter what, whether you're in front of people or not in front of people, in public or in private, it's not right. It is wrong. However, someone could say, look, if you're really going to do this, could you just save me the embarrassment of not humiliating me in front of everybody? Could you just do it at home? It's no different than you get in an argument with your partner out in public and they start raising their voice or saying crazy things and you're like, hey, let's just wait till we get home. Let's wait till we get in the car. Let's walk into another room. It's one thing when it's just you two versus like the whole world is going to see it. And again, I'm going to reiterate, it's wrong no matter what.
Okay, so when Cassie's mother took the stand, as she was leaving, she tried to give Diddy those evil eyes, and they had to guide her away from him like she wanted all the smoke. What do you think was going on with her there?
I think she was staring down the man who tried to break her daughter, the man who extorted, allegedly extorted $20,000 from her not to post, publicize, embarrass, humiliate her daughter with two sexually explicit tapes around Christmas and then a few days after, according to Cassie's email to her mother. Right? And think about it, she was also protected. She was in a court of law. There was no way Diddy was going to get up and do anything. I mean, that might have been her only time where non-verbally she could communicate with her eyes and her stare and her glare, that anger, that resentment, that angst that she was feeling against him. And it was a safe way to do it. I think it was personal from her to him.
Okay, Queen Sheba, while you were out, I'd asked a question about Cassie. Um, Dawn Richard has stated how she was beaten to a pulp. Cassie's in the car. She says, I only ask you, don't beat me in public. Almost as though she was okay with getting beaten at home or wanted to limit it there. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, Cassie was the one that asked him, "Don't beat me in public."
Yeah, in the car.
Okay, so Cassie, I think there was a level of so living two lives, not wanting everybody to know the other side of the coin of being with a billionaire, embarrassed that she would be subjected to this, presenting one side of this relationship, knowing the reality on the other side of that is I'm being demeaned, I'm being physically attacked, I'm embarrassed, I don't want my friends to know, I don't want the public to know. At least do me the honors of waiting until we're behind closed doors. That's what I take from it.
Okay, that's a powerful explanation. I'm going to ask you guys this question, but I want to tell the people in the audience that some of you can come up now. We're at that point. I know time went by really fast.
Let
These
me
ladies.
introduce myself though. Hold
Oh,
on.
that's
Yes.
right. That's right. You went out. You went out. That's right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, so thank you everybody for tuning in. I think Mel is about to open up the lines. I'm Queen Shiba. I am a content creator on YouTube by night, but during the day, I'm actually a mental health product developer, and I design and develop behavioral health, mental health products for huge healthcare corporations. So, and my background, like Blanca, is in organizational psychology. Yep, that's it.
You guys set a really good example for all the ladies in the world. I tell you, you guys are at the top of the game, and I appreciate you guys. It's nice this case, although it's a terrible case, it brought us together, and I'm not letting you guys get away without showing your talent to these people. I think you're helping people in the audience, and it's beyond compare. So the question that I have, and please hit the link and come up if you'd like to. We only have about 10 minutes left. Is there a such thing as emotional consent? You don't want to consent for someone touching you, but what about mentally? Is there a such thing as you should ask for permission before you bring your problem to somebody who's living in their little peaceful zone? Is that a thing? Go ahead, Blanca.
I think, look, we take liberties with people we're really close to, whether it's our
Mm,
parents, our partners, our best friends, right? Our sisters, our brothers, people who we're really tight with. We're just like, let me tell you what happened. Sit down.
mm.
I got a lot to tell you, right? We take that liberty. But with people that you may not be as close with or you're not sure about, I think the best thing to do is say, hey, I've got something on my mind. It has to do with this topic. How do you feel if I just share it with you? I want your advice, or I want to get it off my chest. And hey, it gives them an out. They can say yes or they can say no. And if they say no, just don't take it personally. That's my opinion anyway. You'll find somebody else who would be happy to listen.
Okay, we appreciate that. Queen Sheba,
Repeat that question one more time for me.
is there a such thing as giving people a chance to provide their emotional consent that they want to hear what your problem is? So, in other words, if I'm having a really bad day, if the other person is in a peaceful zone, you should give them some sort of consent before they bring their problems to you.
I think it would be nice. I think in a perfect world, that would be the perfect introduction or the perfect segue into, that's how it's supposed to be. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people dumb. I think it's best to set boundaries. If, like Blanca said, if you don't have the time, she didn't say it like that, but if for those of you that are the receivers of this, if you don't have the capacity, a good way to say is, hey, I have 2 minutes. What's up? Hey, I have 5 minutes. What's up? Or can I call you a little bit later as soon as I'm done with A, B, C, or D? Does that
Okay.
help?
Yeah, it helps. It helps a lot. We have
Yeah.
someone that wants to come up and ask a
Oh, good.
question, so I'm going to let her up at this time. Her name is Beautiful 707
Oh,
0707.
I forgot to change my name. My name is Queen Dosa. Hi. Hi, Queen
Okay.
Shiba. Hello, panel. Um, I was just coming up because I was listening in. And when you all were saying, like, she would wear her hair to the side and things like that, we still have to remember that she's still getting her rent and things paid by him. So, and then there's like, I heard that he went up like this the other day. And so he's doing sign language with his family. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but he's doing sign language, and he's definitely he's a manipulator. He's had years and years and years to craft it this way, because when you talk about individuals coming forward, and I said this before, everything that's in Cassie's lawsuit, that's everything that we're looking at right now. And a lot of people are, oh, well, how did he racketeer? How did he traffic or anything like that? When if something is done without your consent, is breaking the law, you know, in my
Okay.
humble opinion.
Well, thank you. Do you have a question for the ladies?
Uh Let me ask you this. Yeah. With being women and hearing other sisters tell their story, how are you able to stay professional but still take in what they're saying? The Jane Does, is it triggering to you all, or how do you ladies? Because they said that this was a tough trial. The questions and all that was going to be tough. How do y'all still maintain your professionalism and keep your mental health together?
Okay. Blanca, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Some of the testimony has been difficult for me to hear. There have been some moments where my eyes get teary. Now, my eyes might sting with some tears, but I'm not saying I'm crying, I'm out of control. That's not what's happening. The thing is, all of us, we have empathy for people. We're born with empathy. And when we hear stories, whether we know the person or not, it can strike a chord with us. And maintaining, so that's the human side. And I think we should all maintain that human side. Like, we don't need to be an alcoholic to help somebody who has alcohol issues, right? We just need to put ourselves in their position and what they're going through and how we can help to make their life better. Having said that, like, the professionalism is okay. This is bothering me right now. Let me think about what is it about this particular moment, the testimony that's hurting me. Let me process that. And then you say, okay, then I start thinking of the reasons why this could be happening. Then it's beyond me, right? Like, I feel the emotion for a few minutes, I let it go, and I go back to the testimony and say, okay, let me look at it from the witness's perspective, what they're going through, what they might have been going through in that moment. That helps me go back into that professional mindset. Does that make sense?
It
Okay,
makes
that's
a lot of
great.
sense.
All right, Queen Sheba.
I think for me, the first day of hearing Jane Doe testify, that was extremely hard for me to hear. I've never sat in this type of trial and heard the details outlined the way they were outlined, like upfront, in your face, audio messages. We got to hear a lot of stuff, noises, sex workers being in the room. They play one audio of her, Diddy, and a sex worker where they're talking about get the condom. Diddy comes in, what are y'all doing? And I remember my first day, I was like, I'm not okay. This is a lot, especially when she would talk about her body would physiologically respond to her not being able to go anymore physically. At one point, she threw up, she vomited. Um, it was just a lot going on with her body. Even if she quote unquote consented, her body was saying, nope, override. You're not doing this. This is not what the body is made for. So that was extremely hard for me. Professionally, how do I handle that? I take breaks. I leave the courtroom. I go get sunshine. I eat lunch. That's important, right? I go sit by myself. I decompress. Um, I tap in with my audience a lot. I'll call my moderator and connect with her and kind of give her a rundown because you need to get that stuff out. You got to shake that energy off. But not only that, keeping in mind this is a very, very sad situation for both parties involved, all parties involved, because my question still remains, how in the hell did he get here? And then with the women, how in the heck did they get here? How did everybody get here where you would do things that you didn't want to do? And where did he learn this from? And how come he didn't stop? He's a billionaire. You could have anything in the world. You could have had the best help in the world. You could purchase the best therapist. I mean, you have access to any and all programs. So a lot of it is me just being thoughtful, trying to just capture both sides when I'm talking about the case. And other than that, just really resting in between when we're not in the courtroom.
All right. Thank you, Queen
I
Tulsa,
do
for
one
coming
more.
up. We have to do it for
Oh,
next
I
time.
was
But
just going to
Oh,
ask you,
okay.
how did y'all feel about Kanye being there?
all right, guys, just answer this quickly if you want.
I didn't see him.
I didn't either. I was not there.
Yeah, so
Okay, free
I
time.
have a, I'll answer it.
Okay.
So I knew Kanye was coming. I was alerted to that inside information. So if you go to my videos, the live for that day, I'm gonna make it a short. But I filmed Kanye coming out of the car. He shook my hand. You see it in the video, and he went around the bend. We followed him, so it was exciting. He had a strong presence. I could tell you that. But thank you for coming up,
Okay.
and
Thank
I'm
you.
definitely going to bring them back, and we'll have more questions. Thanks for participating, and please hit the like button and subscribe for us. All right, thank you. Okay, so here's the last question I have for you guys. Um, Mia, for most of her direct testimony, her head's down, she's mumbling, fidgeting, she's tingling with her hair, and all of this. Under cross examination, when they had her read text messages and emails, she said, D Rock, she came to life. Like, this is not the same person I saw yesterday. What do you think is happening with her?
We have different emotions for different people in our lives. There are some people who we really want to be around, and when we think of them, they make us smile. Whether
Wow.
you think about your grandmother, you think about your mom, you think about your best friend, whomever that is for you. So we have emotional memories based to different people in our life. That's just one explanation. So even in the craziness and in the sadness and the resentment or whatever angst she was feeling when she said D-Rock, maybe that was a happy memory. Maybe when she said it, she just, maybe it was I'm going to make this up because I don't know. Maybe it was, like an inside joke between the two of them. Or maybe it was a nice thing he said to her one time. Who knows? But again, I think it's emotional memories that we tie to certain people in our life.
Okay, great. Queen Sheba?
Let me ask you this, Mel. Are you saying that you noticed that her voice changed, like her tone? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so let me explain. In the courtroom, the
Mm-hmm.
first couple of days, her voice was very low. I don't know if you ever seen Jamie Foxx play Ray Charles, but he's like
Mm-hmm.
zippity 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 zip. You can't even make out what she's saying. That's how she's coming across. Her head is down. She never raises her head. Under cross examination, they bring up the exhibits and they show the different emails that she wrote, and I'll illustrate it. She goes, D Rock, and like this lady can talk. Or she'd read an email and it's spelled out like four L's. It's the word love, right? And she's talking to Diddy. It's like five O's and three V's or whatever. And she says, I love you. Like she's really coming out of her shell when she's talking about Diddy in these circumstances. So it's almost like you're getting a different person, is what I'm saying.
So can I be honest?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and this is just based on my observation with a few of the ladies. We know there's a history of extensive drug use, substance use, and there was two of them that I wondered if they were still having challenges with that, and one of them was Mia.
Okay. Okay. Well, that
So, if I don't know, I'm not saying she was under the influence. I'm just saying it was a question mark in the back of my head. Is that still a challenge? Um, And hell, sometimes if you're high, you you might be
Yeah.
like, oh, that got out. Let me put that back in. You're sitting there for hours. I don't know. I'm not saying that's the case, but I don't know.
All right. One thing one thing about me, I like to keep you guys to the time that I had asked you to come on for, and we have reached that time. It's a sad moment because I enjoyed you guys, and I know the audience did too, and I didn't get to go through the comments like I wanted to, but maybe next time I could get you guys on a little longer and we can indulge with the crowd a little bit more. So, in conclusion, I just would like to have you guys say where you're from, where people can find you, and give us one closing statement. Close out the Diddy case. You want to go, Blanca?
Sure, I will go. I'm Blanca Cobb. You can reach me blancacobb.com or social media at Blanca Cobb. YouTube, I am Blanca Cobb, body language expert. And let me think of a parting thought. A lot of people seem to be very curious about body language, particularly in the courtroom and in this case. When you're, actually, that's not a very good thought to end on because there are no cameras in the courtroom. So that, all right, give me a second, Mel. Let
All
me
right.
think a parting
It's
thought
okay.
here.
We could go to Queen Sheba and come
Yeah,
back
and
to
then I'll
you.
come back with something.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm Queen Shiva with an I. And of course, we have the darling at the end. You can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, under Queen Shiva. And then my final thought is keep in mind that, at least for me and for people in the courtroom, I think most of us think we thought or we knew the gist of everything that was happening. And you walk in only to find and hear and discover you have no idea. So for me, I'm basing it off, or my commentary off of what I hear in that moment, right? Forgetting the next day, but being present in the moment. And final thoughts are, this is tough. This is more complex and complicated than I think we all can imagine. And I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be. That's my final thought.
Okay.
All right,
Very good. So I'll,
I
okay.
got
I was going
mine.
to go
Just
ahead.
to stay inquisitive, really. There's so much information, like Queen Shiva is saying, that is thrown at us from all angles. Just stay inquisitive, because when you start asking questions, the more it's going to lead to some answers, and it's going to broaden your mind instead of just thinking you know what it is, what the answer is, because it's very complicated, exactly like Queen Shiva said.
All right. I really do appreciate you guys. So I have a little statement I'll say
Yeah.
from my observation of this case, because this case has been dramatic for me, right? Hearing all of the abuse that I've never seen or heard about before. But I just want to say, I think as a country or people in general, sometimes when it comes to men, we're moving away from the mark, and you find that women are being beaten and also children. And my grandmother used to tell me, if you do what's right, right will follow you. So it's
Mm.
very important that as men in this world, we have no need to beat women or beat children or beat anyone. We should all keep our hands to ourselves. But the problem is, in this social media thing now, a lot of men are promoting the abuse against women and children. So that needs to stop. And that's my message. We need a new message, a new breath of air to help the younger generation to move away from abusing other people. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate everybody in the audience. I'm pretty sure these wonderful professionals, look at the example that we have for us. That's why I had to bring them on, let other young people see like the greatness that you can be in life. And you guys are wonderful. So
Thank you.
thank everybody for tuning in. I'm definitely going to have them back. Would you guys be so kind? We could do this again. I think this was a beautiful show. You
Absolutely.
guys are beautiful, and
I'm
I
game.
appreciate you. All right.
Yes, thank
So,
you.
all right. Thank you, and have a good night. All right. So long to
Ciao,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye bye.